I am surrounded by snakes and f***ing morons!
Hi, I'm Jez, I'm a film and TV director, and in this video I'm going to explain how the Succession team took a complex idea that shouldn't work at all and somehow turned it into the most compelling drama on TV. So let's start at the beginning, with all the reasons that the show shouldn't work, and then I'll break down exactly how Jesse Armstrong and his creative team defied convention and succeeded because of it. So first, the big fat problems. Essentially, these issues would get you laughed straight out of the door at your first pitch meeting with the network. And even if you somehow got invited back, you can bet there'd be some serious pushback forcing you to change everything before you'd even have a hope of getting any money out of them.
Money wins.
First of all, it's an entirely ensemble piece. That's fine for a comedy, less common though for a 60-minute drama. There's usually one character that's at the heart of the show, someone we root for and whose journey defines the trajectory of the show. So think of Marty Byrde in Ozark, Walter White in Breaking Bad, Sidney Bristow in Alias, or Joel in The Last of Us. We may spend a lot of time with other rich, fascinating characters in these shows, but most 60-minute dramas are structured around the journey of one central character, even if other characters share just as much screen time. But Succession isn't. At first you think, oh, this is Kendall's journey, but then you realise it's not. Maybe it's Shiv's or Roman's.
Roman, you're a moron.
Yes, we do open season 1 and close season 4 on Kendall, but the show from episode to episode isn't structured around him and his journey. Arguably, the model for success here is Game of Thrones. That's a big 60-minute drama with no consistent central character. But the big difference with Thrones is there's always someone to root for. The difference with Succession is that none of the characters are relatable or sympathetic. There is no centre of good or single character you root for through all the shit.
Greg, fuck off.
Okay. The next major issue is what we call in the biz stakes. Not only are these characters all awful human beings in their own way, but how and why we should care about people who, even if the worst thing that could possibly happen to them happens, well, they're still worth billions of dollars and can do anything in the world they want. Let's take a look at the least cynical and ambitious of the Roy children, Connor.
Nice. What are you at now?
Solid, still holding.
Yeah, 1%.
It's just the fear is in these last days, it could get squeezed.
So, you know the wedding. Look, if I can get inserted into the news cycle, that's a huge savings from paid media.
I mean, I've always, it's dumb, but quite wanted a nice wedding.
His ego is sufficiently fragile that he forces his wife to have a terrible wedding, just so that it'll get the news coverage to keep his vote share at that trivial level. By any normal standards, relationship-breaking behaviour with a completely twisted set of priorities. And this is the nicest of the Roy children. Speaking of nice, Hollywood execs are obsessed with the audience liking its heroes and caring about what happens to them. And for good reason. If we don't, we're not invested. And if we're not invested, we stop watching. So this combination of no central character, no sympathetic character, no relatable character, and apparently minimal stakes would be the death knell for any show you might choose to pitch. But we're not finished.
Happy Christmas, you clock-watching fucks.
This world of the mega rich is a world that's so rarefied and inhabited by so few. How on earth can you write it accurately and make it feel authentic? How do you possibly know what people this rich do or behave like? Because even if you've met them, which is unlikely, they won't behave to you like they do to those they consider their peers, enemies, or closest family. And if the show doesn't at least feel authentic, then we've got another major problem. As the audience, we might not know exactly what this mega rich world is like, but you can bet your bottom dollar we'll sniff it out if it doesn't feel authentic. And then, again, we'll tune out. Our final issue, subject matter. On the surface, Succession is a show about the machinations of big business, boardrooms, share prices, and voting blocks. Dry or what? How do you even start to make that interesting? So you could look at all of this together and think, my God, making this even kind of work would be a challenge, let alone making it the single most compelling drama we've seen in years.
I have you beat, you morons!
So how did Jesse Armstrong and his team do it? Firstly, let's directly address some of those issues I've just mentioned. The show does actually flirt with our sympathies by taking turns with each of the primary characters and giving us something to root for in them, even if we don't identify with them as people.
And I really think you should come and see the Swede.
Well, the only thing is, Khan's wedding.
We're offered one redeeming quality for a while, even if that subsequently goes away. So, for example, Kendall wanting to whistleblow on the company's appalling historic behaviour in Season 2.
I have an announcement to make.
Shiv, who seems to retain some sense of greater morality in the macro-national sense.
You know what? I don't think even Dad would back him tonight.
But of course, she's still happy to lie, manipulate, and backstab the people around her. Roman, for example, shows some more human displays of distress when it comes to firing Jerry, the first time that is, in Season 4.
What's going on, Roman?
We're given the tiniest of hooks to throw our empathy hats on for a bit, even if that hat stand subsequently falls over. And how about that structural issue about the central character's journey? Well, I'll quickly address that. The Season 4 finale made it clear that we have to regard the three primary siblings as one dysfunctional group, and the structure of the show is built around that group's journey rather than any one individual's. So, if we've got an almost entirely unbearable group of characters doing unspeakable things in a world that feels pretty alien and unrelatable to 99.99% of us, why is it not really icky and nasty to watch? Because it's funny.
And I've wanted to say for a while, I'm pregnant. There you go.
Is it mine?
Yeah, uh-huh.
And this is a massively important one. If a show wasn't this light on its feet, most of us wouldn't have the stomach for the relentless cynicism and ambition displayed by just about everyone. There's also a brilliantly handled contrast of stupidity and human foibles in the midst of wealth and power. The levity supplied by outsiders like Greg lifts the whole show.
Both sides are trying to squeeze my percent.
Squeeze down from 1, because that's the lowest number.
No,
possible.
there's, decimals.
He's the one to point out the absurdity that's only visible to us on the outside.
But then it gets awfully spendy to get aggressive.
Like, how much?
Like another 100 mil.
100 million. Damn.
And no matter how foolish each of the other characters is with regards to judgment or emotional intelligence,
maybe you'll meet a wealthy widow and you can seduce her with your sad eyes. She can keep you as a pet.
each of them is blessed with a quick tongue. That means each and every scene is lifted by the acerbic interactions between them. They might not clock their own appalling behaviour, but they're pretty good at calling out each other's.
He's like a sex robot for Dad to fuck.
He's like an old beaten dog.
Well, he's both of those things and also a piece of shit.
Now, let's address that thorny issue of stakes. So, all of these characters are made for life, that goes without saying. But what's in the balance is that top level on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And that is the same thing that applies to pretty much all of us in developed countries anyway. It's the same approach Shakespeare had, not surprising really, given that Succession is essentially a modern interpretation of King Lear. So the stakes aren't related to money and all of Maslow's lower levels that money can buy. They're things like birthright, purpose, meaning, identity, and not to mention the need for parental love and approval.
I need you.
And at some level, these are the most profound stakes we have that apply to all of us. And this is where Succession really lands. Because we might not like these people or live in a world like theirs, but the real issues facing them are ones that we can absolutely identify with. And the character's privilege only makes each of those stakes more acute. And whilst by season 4 there is no centre of good left and all the characters are compromised, there's still a fascination in watching them undermine, manoeuvre and betray each other. Yes, very much like Game of Thrones. Now, season 4 is still fresh in our minds, so I'm going to dip into 3 episodes to hopefully illuminate some of the brilliant choices that were made, which elevate the drama over just about anything else in the genre. Let's start with episode 3, the one we knew had to happen, but probably weren't expecting till the end of the series. The writing team referred to the key event here as Larry David, to avoid leaking the massive alliterative spoiler, so get the hell out of here if you've not watched yet. Yep, Larry David is of course Logan dies. And what a brilliant way it was handled. First of all, we've all kind of got used to the standard way an important character is killed off in film or TV. They get to either complete their arc or tragically miss their goal.
I would like to have seen Montana.
Then the death happens on screen in a way that maximises drama and gives the character one last closing line or sentiment, usually delivered to the character they're closest to.
There is another.
Succession didn't do any of that. The death happened off screen and we only experienced it through the messy, partial information that was coming down a shitty phone line. Isn't it always the way that it's the most important calls that drop out at the worst moment? The situation felt like a real-life mess, with the people receiving the news behaving the way that real people do. Shock, bargaining, denial. Most of the time we don't get to have those perfect emotional goodbyes when someone close to us dies.
Is he hearing? Is he still hearing?
I don't know, but I'm putting you there.
We hear the news out of nowhere, perhaps at a weird time when we're in the middle of something else.
Oh man.
The decision to handle Larry David like this was an incredibly brave and powerful choice. Kudos to HBO for letting Jesse and the writing team do it the way their instincts told them they should. It's in keeping with the world of the show, and the fact it doesn't feel like manufactured drama. Remember, even the camera style is intentionally designed to feel like a documentary, live, handheld, and picking up the moments as they happen organically. And this episode felt like a documentary episode that just so happened to be covering Connor's wedding when the shocking news came through.
Okay, I'm putting you by his ear now.
When the kids are put on the phone to their dad, who may or may not still be able to hear them, none of them have a clue what to say. A lifetime of emotional repression focused into one terrifying, abrupt moment. The performances are fantastic throughout. But why are they so good?
Okay, I'm giving you the shiv.
Well, it's an absolutely masterly command from the writers of subtext.
He never even liked me. Hey, sorry.
At its best, subtext like this empowers actors to do their best work, and the long takes in this episode are a key part in letting actors really live in the moment and find the truth in the scene. Having lost a parent myself, I can say that this episode hit really close to home. When the plane finally lands, the kids are hit with hard fucking reality, and we see the difference in their characters through how they deal with it. We see their true courage or not. Now, Roman might not like conflict, but he's prepared to go and face up to his father. Shiv runs away, and Kendall's fear of his father remains, even in death. He isolates himself at a distance. Will he come to regret it? We can't really talk about the Larry David episode without mentioning the choices made around its timing, coming as early as it did in season 4. We all knew from the title of the show alone that the question of succession would have to be resolved before the final season could be over, and it was always likely to be death rather than retirement.
I will win.
And given how fundamental Logan's character was to the show, with his magnificent awful force, Kendall's words,
You are a fucking nobody.
It's a very hard choice to write him out early. So why do it? 2 primary reasons, I think. Firstly, to catch the audience off guard and give us a reaction similar to the kids when they hear the news. It feeds into the power of the episode when it's this unexpected. And secondly, because Jesse Armstrong believed the internecine power struggles that would erupt once Logan was gone deserved the time and attention to be fleshed out properly. Did we miss Logan in those final 7 episodes? Yes, I think we probably did.
He ate my fucking chicken.
But I totally understand the choice to make it happen as early as it did. Also notice that the writers knew we'd miss him, hence the repeat appearances in old video footage in multiple episodes. We need at least a little dose of the old Silverback's terrible vim and vigour in Succession.
God, you're fucking useless, the lot of you. You're as bad as my fucking idiot kids.
Sorry, Ken. That's fine. That's a Valentine's card.
Moving on, another banger, episode 8, The Election. The joy in this episode is akin to watching a car crash in slow motion. It feels really painfully close to home, because as much as we don't want to believe it, I think we all feel that in the world at the top there probably is this much cynicism. In the battle for ratings, power and influence, we get an alarming insight into how those who only care about self-interest can abandon any sense of morality or ethics. Shiv, despite her own questionable fealties, displays the most concern for their actions.
We can count the votes that we have, however, unfortunately, some are lost, so.
Unfortunately, some are lost, meaning what? Fascist fuckheads burnt them.
We very easily be your fucks, they love fires.
You're making hay from political violence. Every vote must be counted.
Yeah.
Kendall is torn.
We call this, if we push it, maybe it happens.
And Roman, well, Roman.
We just made a night of good TV. Nothing happens.
Things do happen.
Oh yes, things very much do happen. I'll come back to this exchange later, which is possibly the most important pair of lines in the whole series.
Would anyone object to moving directly to a vote?
No.
No.
And onto the series and show finale. Who was going to rise to the top and take control of Waystar Royco? We probably should have read a bit more King Lear. Let's skip straight to the final climax. It's basically a toddler playroom.
Fuck off me!
You piece of shit. Get off me.
Jesus Christ!
Ultimately, the fact none of them have ever grown up comes back to haunt them. Each of these kids has got stunted in a different way through childhood and now bears the emotional wounds that mean that they can never be as effective as their father. Their very dysfunction, individually and as a group, means they'd rather tear the family apart than see one of the others have what they want.
You okay? We have it. We have it. Look, we have it.
Shiv can't bear Kendall winning, so she uses the only power she has.
I mean, you're voting against yourself. You realize that? Listen, I can do this.
I don't think you'd be good at it.
When it comes down to it, as awful as it is, from her perspective, she'd rather Tom was king than Kendall. Roman, on the other hand, post-funeral breakdown, is perhaps the most developed. Arguably, he's the first one to become self-aware.
Hey, we are bullshit.
We are not bullshit.
We are bullshit. You are bullshit, man. I'm fucking bullshit. She's bullshit. It's all fucking nothing.
Which takes us back to Logan's final line to his children.
I love you, but you are not serious people.
He's right, of course. But why are they not serious people? Well, because of the entitlements, privilege, but most of all him.
You're such fucking dopes.
And his contribution to the emotionally abusive parenting they all received.
If you move against me, I'll put a hole in the back of your fucking head.
Online commenters and reviewers have all said the finale was brutal, but I'd argue this is a happy ending. None of the Roy children were ever happy before and weren't ever able to be happy whilst chasing the cursed throne. On an individual character level, Succession is a show about how privilege, entitlements and ambition only lead to perpetual misery. So Tom's coronation and the removal of the ultimate dangling carrot gives each of the Roy kids the opportunity to redefine themselves, become self-aware, and just perhaps become better people. We see this possibility through Roman's eyes first, and his arc in season 4 can be drawn across these few exchanges, which, when combined with this scene, together sum up his journey of self-realization. Incidentally, there's another show here where the ending of Succession is the inciting incidents for the new show. Personally, I'd like to see that. So let's sum up. Why is Succession so bloody good? I believe fundamentally because it mixes the societal impact of the world we see around us with the interpersonal and the intrapersonal and connects them all together. It's about how flawed, fundamentally incompetent people make self-interested choices that can lead to societal and cultural rifts, political polarization, and change the very fabric of society and the world we live in. Not only that, but Succession makes a commentary on the way we bring up children.
You're not bringing the kids to their grandfather's funeral? Are you insane?
And what it means to be a good person.
Okay, you're gonna have to run me over if you want to go. What are you gonna do?
Do we value money, power, and success, or a life with rich, nourishing, healthy relationships? Why is it that our society puts more value on the former? Succession is also a brilliantly observed commentary on the development of personality and emotional intelligence, and the role parenting plays in that.
Hi. Hi, darling. Hello.
Logan's brother Ewan shows us the seed of Logan's cruelty, planted in his own childhood.
Our little sister, she was a baby. He always believed that he brought home the polio with him, which took her. But our aunt and uncle certainly did nothing to disabuse him of that notion. They let it lie with him.
And do we really believe that Shiv will, in time, do better? One thing's for sure, if she'd ended up in the haunted throne, most definitely not.
She's one of those hard bitches, right? Who's gonna do what, 36 hours of maternity leave, emailing through her vanity cesarean? Poor kid will never see her.
Ultimately, Succession is a complex tragedy. How money, privilege, and the entitlement it brings destroys lives, interpersonal relationships, and the characters themselves of those caught up in it. It's an indictment of the failings of capitalism on an individual level, even when those individuals are at the very top.
Oh, that's too much. That's too much.
What did you think of Succession? Why do you think it was so successful? Disagree or agree with my assessment? Let me know in the comments. And yes, this is a new channel, so a like and subscribe go a long way. I'm British, so I'm almost too polite to ask, so sorry about that. And one final thing, if you're wondering who I am and why I'm talking about this stuff, then I discuss it at the end of my Top Gun Maverick film. Link here and in the description. Next up, I'll be talking about The Last of Us and Everything Everywhere All at Once. I'll leave you with a succinct thought from the big man.
Fuck off.
See you next time.